Hello, Property Bants and Rants. We're here with special guest Stephen McCarron again. He's come back. He's here again. He loves us so much. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us again. So, hello to you. Hello. Stephen, when we last spoke, we were talking about the presidency and things like this. But I want to find out more about your life as an estate agent. So, tell us a little bit about how you got into agency and where you are now and how you got to that position. So tell me a little about your journey, please.
Well, so the journey was thus. I had a childhood friend, my mum had a friend who was her childhood friend, and she had a family. And there were a variety of the boys in the family. They were all older than me, but we used to visit them. And I remember this particular, one of her sons, loved him, thought he was amazing, looked up to him, what a guy. And he had his job as an estate agent. And sadly, he contracted testicular cancer. And I'm glad to say he's alive and he's come through it. But at the time, he had to leave his job and go for treatment. And so this job came up. I knew what he did, and this job appeared as a full-time, but only for 6 months, estate agent. And I remember thinking to myself, fast cars, you get plenty of money. How hard could it be? So I applied for the job, and I had an interview on this predetermined date. And I was late for it. And the reason I was late for it, because in true Northern Ireland style, there was yet another bomb scare. And the police had sealed the area off, and I couldn't get to where I wanted to go. Anyway, I thought that was it. I wasn't going to get a second bite at the cherry. And the guy waited for me, and we had no mobile phones, so I was at a call box, basically phoning, going, look, I can't get down, whatever it is. And I went into the interview, and I remember telling him about my job as a Belfast Telegraph boy, so I had a paper round. And most people have a paper round, maybe 20, 30 papers. I had 150 people on my round, and I did that religiously every single day. And I made an absolute packet at it. I was 11 or 12 years of age, and I think I charged 30p delivery times 150, and then you got another £5 on top of that, and then you got your tips. So I had this great career already going at 11 years of age. And I went in and I told him the story about the Telegraph anyway, and he went, right, okay. And about an hour later, he phoned the house and got back home and he says, listen, we'd like you to take the jobs. That was me.
How old are you then? How old are you then, Stephen?
Oh, 19.
19, right, okay, yeah.
Something like that. I wasn't doing a tally round at 19, by the way. I'd given it up at that stage. It wasn't a good look with the gears. So that was my foray into estate agency. There were no fast cars for me, and there was loads of money. In fact, my first month's wages was, I can tell you exactly, it was £333. And I can remember waiting for it to drop into my account at the end of the month. We got £20 for a show house on a Sunday, and you got £20 for a financial services referral.
Okay.
And despite the fact I could have got better paid jobs, there was just something about it that really, really appealed to me. And I stuck in. But being a bit of an ambitious person as well, I was already looking at my next step up. So I did about 14 months. And I had already decided that I should be a branch manager, which I wasn't, by the way, and I wasn't capable of being a branch manager. But anyway, I decided I wanted to be a branch manager. And I had a few interviews, nothing ever came of it. And then what happened was there was a new solicitor's practice was opening in the city. And they were going to do something that nobody had done before. They were also going to open a solicitor's property centre.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So I went, right, okay. I'm going to give this a go because they're looking for someone to manage it. Now, albeit I was a manager of one, me, but I went for the interview and I got the job. So I started this thing off. There was no property, there was nothing, and I built it up from zero.
Yeah. So how old are you then, Stephen? You 21, 20?
21, yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Totally I had no lack of self-belief. I mean, I just believed in everything I did. Whether right or whether wrong, I did it, and that was fine. And I spent probably 4.5 years there. No, it wouldn't be 4 because I opened up at 24. It must have been a year and a half, 2 years. And then the last job I had before I set up my own business was in a Century 21 franchise.
Okay.
And I really liked the guy that owned it, and I'd worked with him before, and I really respected him, and I loved how he did his marketing. But unfortunately, I didn't love how he left a lot of leads that just hanging, floating in the air.
Mm.
And I could see all the good things that he could have done that he didn't do. And that led me to this idea in my head, but I could do that. And through either stupidity or youthful exuberance, whatever you want to call it, I decided, right, I'm going to do that. Now, I had been drawing a logo for this business that had never opened. And I used to sit and draw away at this logo. I had this idea in my head long before I even decided I was going to open up. And eventually it came to fruition. I went down to see a bank manager friend of mine, and he said, look, I'll support you. We'll give you an £8,000 overdraft.
Okay.
So I got my £8,000 overdraft, and I had some money, or my wife and I had some money, and we put it in, and we found the premises, we fitted it out, we did everything else. And I had 3 properties to put on the market at that time, so that was much, much better. But I had quite a substantial book of people who I knew were going to do a lot of things, right, and a lot of good things. And that started me off. And the one thing I always said in my whole journey was that I need to corner the new homes market. And if I corner that, then I will begin to control how the rest of that business goes ahead. And that's exactly what I did.
Mm.
And
yeah, the plan. I mean, you said first of all, you sounded very ambitious to do that at that age, and you followed it through. Because obviously, you must have worked hard during that time.
So it was a really difficult time because of 2 young children under 2,
right?
And just bought a new house. And so there was a lot of things that could go wrong, and it was impossible. There was no option for failure. It just didn't exist, and it had to work. And to be fair, it was a difficult time. And I actually suffered really badly from anxiety, but I didn't know what it was. So I used to come home at night and I used to say to my wife, I can't get my breath. Now, I'm not talking about, wringing my hands or, going to bed and crying or anything like that. I just couldn't get an extra breath.
Right.
And I thought, first of all, am I having a heart attack? Is there something? What's going on? Couldn't understand it anyway. But as it turned out, it was just so much pressure. The anxiety was just sitting on me day and daily. And there was a lot of time for reflection about halfway through where we're at today. And I had to jettison clients because I recognized that those clients were the people who were causing me the most anxiety.
Right, okay.
You have to appreciate when you start a business, you'll pretty much do anything for anybody because But these people were bad. They would have been bad for anybody's business. They would have been bad for anybody's mental health because they recognize in you that you're such a hard worker that they just put on you and want you to do more and more and more and more. So I would say 15 years in, I managed to achieve the right work balance. And ever since now, it's been a pleasure to run my business and get up every morning and go to work.
So one of the questions I ask the guests is what you kind of mentioned it now, but I'd just like to ask you about it. Is what mental traits have you got, mental habits that you've got that you think have helped you through the ups and downs in property? So what characteristics do you employ to help you?
Well, okay. So I'm not sure I'm going to tell you about what the characteristics are. It was recognizing in myself what I had to change. And for a lot of people, they don't recognize it in themselves that there's a certain change that you have to make in your life. And if you don't make it, then you'll just go on and make the same mistakes forever and more. And my mistake was being far too accessible to people. Now I know we're in a people business and we're in that. That's the nature of what a estate agency is. But you can't just be completely accessible, and you have to learn to turn off. Don't be as accessible and learn to turn off are two of the most important things. You have to be able to go home. You have to be able to spend an evening with your family and enjoy your family, and don't ever get caught up in that horrible situation where the family are second best to everything else, because at the end of the day, that's where the most joy derives from. You have to spend time with your family.
Stephen, that's sometimes very hard, isn't it? Especially as a business owner. How do you do that? Or you just schedule the time and this is it?
But it was. You see, this is the thing. How would you go into a 5-year-old and go, look, here's your timetable for daddy? You know, what I had to try and do was just recognize that there had to be a point where you can see, you have to say to yourself, there is absolutely no more I can give that business today. And I need something else, because if I don't do this something else thing, then that business won't be here in 2 years' time. And people get caught up in that trap. I'm not saying don't work hard. I'm a hard worker. I advocate hard work, but I think you have to recognize in yourself that if you don't have that right balance in your work and private life, then you're on a downward train. You're going to find yourself in a lot of trouble inside your head.
Yeah.
People talk about their mental health. Well, I can tell you, I was in a very, very dark place many years ago, because I had come to the end of the road. My brain couldn't do it anymore, and that was the turning point. That's when it all changed anyway. So I just couldn't, but not necessarily for the reasons people would think. Not only did I have the hard work, but we had also all the political troubles that were going on here as well. And so those two things were the changers.
Well, I was going to ask you, because I mean, that's mental health is really important, and I'm glad to say people speak about it much more openly now, which is really good, because that's how you get out that's how you start your journey to try and get over that, you know. So how did that? So you cut off. You had a timeline. I can't do any more than this work. Did that help your business in the end? Because sometimes people feel like
of course it did. It did.
I knew it would, but I just want you to explain why.
Right. Okay. There is this kind of, more clients. Well, the more clients I had, the worse the service was getting for them. Okay. But all I could see was the point signs and not the people. And that was so wrong of me. And I recognize how wrong that was. But people might turn around and say, but you're trying to run a business and you're trying to be successful. Well, okay. I would prefer to sell one house than sell 10 and do a good job doing one, rather than doing a crappy job doing 10. And I had to set myself limits and say, look, I can do this well, or I can do this really badly. When I recognized that what I needed to do to have a better business, then everything else fit in and around it. We do have our challenges in Northern Ireland, and even today we still have our challenges in Northern Ireland, and I guess people have all over the world. I mean, I'm not trying to make it out that we are unique in any shape, form, or fashion, but there are other things that happen in our industry as well that are darker and not so nice, and you have to navigate your way through those as well. And I'm glad to say that, where I was 25 years ago compared to where we are now, it's much better. But there are still challenges that every now and again can pop up and cause you problems. And as I say, I guess there are other places in the United Kingdom where similar type problems can pop up, and they just masquerade under different things. But I've been a really lucky boy. That's the best way I can put it.
I think I'll say you're lucky, but I think you do make your own luck in a way. You've got to take the right decisions, and I think some of the learnings that I've just got from you is things that are really like successful people do. So first of all, you sacked some of your clients. I mean, I think that is really important, isn't it? Because I'm sure Stephen, but there's the 80-20 rule, which is Pareto's principle, where they you look at your business and you say where there's the Pareto principle says that probably 80% of your business comes from 20% of the people, and equally 80% of your problems comes from 20% of your people. So it's a matter of just looking at your business and thinking what's really going to work, what's going to give you the best work-life balance. I like the thing about work-life balance. I struggle with it as well. I work long hours. I do struggle, and it's a constant thing that I've got to just keep reminding myself that, look, actually you need to get a rest as well, you know. But I think that's really important. And what we try to tell our people at work is, look, go home and don't think about work. But equally, when you're at work, don't think about home. And that's the balance you got to get, because you got to be fully focused where you are. you know, whether it's home at work. And I think that's what gives you work-life balance or work-life blend,
Yeah.
really. The other thing I just say I've learned from you is when you started your business, it reminds me, there's a really famous story about a Viking ship, and they burnt their bridges. You know, what happened, there was a war, and they had to go to another country to sort of take over that country, and they were completely outnumbered, 10-1, for example. And when they got there, the leader, he burnt all the boats, you know, and he burnt all the boats because it meant that his soldiers knew they would either win or die. You know,
Yeah.
you kind of did that with your business. I mean, it's amazing. You started your business at a really young age. You had 2 kids under 2 years old. Did you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you did burn your boats, didn't you? But
Yeah.
look what you've achieved out of it.
But this is the only thing I would say is, and I've often looked back at this, if somebody sent me back again and put me in the same circumstances, I'd never do it. Just would never happen. You know, and so you just roll with the punches. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I say, maybe luck there. It is hard work. I mean, I do work hard, but I also think there has to be a little element of luck to get, you know, to be so happy. And I use the word successful. I don't like the word successful in the sense that it's a boast. If people want to say to me that I've been successful, that I've worked hard, I'll take that. But I don't use particularly like the word successful in any kind of boastful way. And I hear people say that sometimes, and that doesn't sit particularly well with me. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we have to have a certain amount of humility as well. And I like to think that I get up in the morning, I do my best, I'm as nice to people as I can be, and then when I go to bed at night, if that was the night that whoever decides to take me away, then I'll say I did an okay job, and I'll be quite happy.
Yeah, I think that's really true. You got to live your life. You know, treat people the way you want to be treated, and I think you always got to try and put people in a better position than they are. And I think if you got that philosophy in life, it helps you. I think you're always the biggest winner of that, because you just feel good in yourself, you know.
Yeah.
So, Stephen, tell me what you think about what's the biggest problem in the market. Do you think at the moment you travel up and down the country? So, what's the biggest? What are sales agents suffering from at the moment?
I think we've all got the same problem, in the sense that the issues that we're having with inflation and the issues that we are having with rising interest rates is designed, as the Bank of England will have it, to cool the economy and try and get inflation down and so on and so forth. And it obviously hasn't having that effect. Adding any pressure onto the house purchase sale price by increasing interest rates is obviously going to present a difficulty. I am pleased to say that one might have imagined it would be a lot worse than it is. So they talk about the market sort of becoming more normal, and it is becoming more normal, but you cannot not acknowledge the fact that rising interest rates has cooled things to a degree. And it'll be a level of cooling, because obviously the higher up the market, things will get, cooled down a lot quicker, and as you go down the smaller end of the market, things may be just so bad. There is a challenge in that. The other thing I think that is wrong, in the sense that the government's treatment of stamp duty at this minute in time, especially in terms of investment properties, has killed that off as well, and that's had a knock-on effect into the investment market.
Has that been all around the country, Stephen? As I say, because you go up and down.
We had a really burgeoning, we had a lot of people coming into us at a period of time looking for properties for buy to let. And, landlords are maligned, and estate agents are maligned over this idea of slum landlords and so on and so forth. And it's complete utter nonsense. I know, so many Northern Ireland landlords, and they're all suffering the way that every landlord in the UK is suffering, and that is everything is onerous. Everything has been put on to the landlord. The landlord has to do the government's job, and in order for them to do the government's job, they should be looked after. Instead, the government want to penalise them and be as punitive as possible. And that is happening in every single city and town in the UK. And there are fewer and fewer properties available now to let, because of the government's treatment of landlords. And there's no one buying houses to fill the gap. And they're not building houses quick enough. The government certainly aren't building enough social homes. They're not building enough new homes even. And the problem is just getting exacerbated and getting worse and worse and worse, and there is no sign of it getting any better. And I don't know what he wants.
So what do you think about the rest of the year, Stephen? How's that going to go? What's your prediction?
I think I think what we're going to have is it's going to be a reasonable enough year, but it'll probably quieten down like it does most years towards the end of the year. I think next year will be much better. I think we'll begin to see interest rates coming back slightly again, and that will give more confidence to the market. And that's what the market is. The market is a confidence-based system. When people are confident about it, they'll go out and buy houses. When they lack confidence, then they're more considered in their decision to purchase. But overall, we have to remember that for most home ownership is in our DNA as people from the United Kingdom. People need a house over their head, and everybody wants to be aspirational homeowners if they're not already a homeowner. And that's why our market's been so good for so long, because people do put value in home ownership. And there may be periods in time where it'll cool down, but that's never going to change. That is just how it is. And that would be my take on it.
And so that's the sales market. As a business owner, what do you think the biggest challenges are?
Oh my God, where do I start? So I'm a business owner. I'm a tax collector. I work for immigration. What else do I do for the government? I mean, I have a raft of government jobs. I thought you were going to ask me about the estate agency job. It is getting more difficult to run an agent. It's getting more difficult to run a business, but it's getting more difficult. The raft of legislation, the boxes that need to be ticked, the things that we need to do. In my view, it's getting really unfair now. What they want us to do all our jobs for them, and then if we just don't do it 100% correct, and we should always do it, but if we don't, then we'll come in and we'll fine you, or we'll do this, or we'll do that, or we'll do the other. HR even getting people to work now is. I mean, I see since the COVID lockdown. I mean, the how people view employment's completely changed as well. For many, it would be better not to work than it is to work. Which seems like a really strange thing to say, but it's true. Well,
on the HR side, you're president of Propertymark, and they got a brilliant employment line, haven't they? They got you. That's one of the perks of the membership, isn't it?
Of course, you have the HR line, and then they have the legal line also. And you know what? I would say the HR line's used quite a bit, because there are difficulties in whether you're a one-man band or you have a number of agencies or whatever the case may be. It is an area which has to be done right. But it is difficult. Employment is difficult. Employing people at this minute in time is difficult as well. Getting the right people, should I say, is difficult.
Well, I mean, getting the right people. There's always a shortage of great people, isn't there? I mean, that's always been the case, isn't it? And I think the way that the property industry in a way has been very lucky the last 3 years. I mean, it's just been flying, isn't it? And now I think, in my view, it's going back to almost a normal market. Really, we're not really in a depression for property. I think it's just going back. But the thing is, the newer people have not seen that old market, so it's a bit of a shock for them, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there are people who come into the business, would never have known what that was like. But likewise, I said this to someone, I don't know, 6 months ago. I remember where interest rates were 15%. Well, that had no relevance in them, because they wouldn't have known what a 15% interest rate looked like at all. And I'm trying to say to them, well, count your blessings, because it's only 4, it's only 5, or whatever the case may be. House prices and everything else were all relative at the time. Yes. Do you remember the 15%, the day of 15% or 17% or whatever it was?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
The idea that somebody would pay that amount of money on a mortgage was completely ridiculous. But I do think people have got so used to paying very little interest. I do feel for them. And it's not a case of, well, what's your problem? Because, you haven't been paying high interest rates for whatever. That's what you're used to.
Yeah,
and that's a really difficult problem, and there is a problem that's storing itself up now. We're getting more and more phone calls from people who can't afford to continue ownership, and that's really sad. And there's no options out there for them at all. It's just, I mean, it's something I think the government need to seriously look at as well, because we need to do something for those who are caught in that situation. They've never really had the opportunity, or they haven't had the foresight, if you like. And I know it's not all our jobs, but somebody should be doing something to help those people right now as well, I think.
And a quick question, because it's Northern Ireland, I don't know what the process is over there. I mean, because the time to completion in England is just far too long. How does it work in Ireland? What's an average time to get to completion?
Well, at my average pitch, I'm going to now tell somebody that they should be moved within 14 weeks.
14 weeks.
That's 14 weeks. So that's putting it on the market, finding the buyer, surveys, and so on and so forth. So an average conveyance after the sale is probably about 12 weeks.
About 12 weeks.
Yeah, that's obviously after we've found the buyer.
Yeah, so I mean that's fast, because in England they say the average is about 5 months, and probably I think a lot of people are taking even longer than that. So that's a nightmare, isn't it? It's far.
I mean, that is. I don't know. I don't think we could deal with that. But we think the solicitors here can be slow at times.
Yeah,
and they can be. And on top of that, Tony, I don't know if you're aware of the antiquated land registry system that we have here also.
No, I wasn't aware of that.
So we've got two systems. One's called Registry of Deed. And that's back in the day when people did their contracts and so on and so forth, and with a quill and ink, and it was that sort of thing. And they still have what's called Registry of Deeds, so it's not digitalized. It's not digitized.
Right.
And then we have a system called Land Registry, which is a little bit more modern, and it is digitized. But you could have a property that is both Registry of Deed and Land Registry.
Oh wow.
Right, so these are the problems that people have to encounter here. But nonetheless, and we don't, we can't go online the way you can in the mainland,
right,
and obtain the information that can be obtained. And that's a job for someone to come over here and sort the problem out. But,
Stephen, the thing is, with the tech is amazing. We invest really heavily on tech and things like this, but really it's just that good old fashioned, just pick up the phone and deal with the problems. I mean, that is really what it comes down to. And I mean, in England, there's massive problems with your conveyancing, but we find, for us, we've got an agency background. We find what gets results is just pick up the phone to fix your problems. And that's obviously, if you're saying you haven't got the tech there, but they must be doing something right, probably picking up the phone and speaking to each other to resolve the issues, which is really the secret to it all, really.
Well, I mean, in most cases that does happen, but there are still estate agents, or not estate agents, or solicitors who still converse, if you like, with their colleagues by letter. They'll dictate a letter and send it to them. They won't talk to them.
Shocking, isn't it? Yeah.
It's absolutely shocking. And then it'll sit in a dictation pile maybe for a week before that. It's awful. It really is. But there you are.
Yeah, there you go. Stephen, I've got one more question for you. Okay. If you had £100 to spend, if our listeners got £100 to spend, what is it you'd say to them? Go out and buy this. This has really changed my life. What is it you'd tell them to go and get?
For less than £100?
Less than £100.
It's really changed my life.
Right.
My earpods.
Yeah,
Go buy a set of earpods. My life has never been the same since I've got a pair.
Yeah. Is that for listening or talking on the telephone, or both?
That's for talking on the telephone.
I see. Yeah.
I am a big music lover as well, I have to say. I'm a big music lover. I thought you were going to ask me a different question. I thought if you'd have told me if I had £100 to spend on something, what would I buy?
Go on, what would you buy then? Tell me.
So I love guitars, so I'd probably go out and buy a guitar. That's really what I would go and spend my £100 on.
I thought, what I thought you were going to do, Steve? I thought you'd get a guitar out now and play me a song. I thought that would be the finish of a perfect podcast.
Would it be the icing on the cake?
It'd be what you got it. Oh, come on, I like it. Oh, that's.
Oh, I have my guitar. I don't know what song I would play, but that's not that.
Wow! Look at me. Stephen, let me ask you a quick question before I finish. You're a busy man. Okay, you've been running your own business, and you just finished your presidency. Tell me. I know you told me before, but tell me what you're doing next year. What are you hoping to do?
I'm hoping upon all hopes that if I'm successful and the membership decide that they want me to be a board member, then I'm going to spend my time helping Propertymark basically navigate the choppy waters and improve our membership offerings and make the great ship Propertymark even better for the future.
Great. And how do people vote for you, Stephen? What do they need to do to vote for you?
So everybody's been sent an email today from my voice, and if they're an NEA member, they can vote for me and they can vote for the vice presidency. And if they are an Ireland member, then they can vote for the Ireland member board position and their vice presidency. So it'll be out and about today. So if you're you're a Propertymark member, you'll have that information in your email inbox.
Stephen, I wish you luck on that. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. The guitar playing was excellent. I can see a new career for you on that. Yeah. So, Stephen, thank you so much. I'll speak to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.